What is going on, guys? I am back once again with another video, and it is, and I might make this an annual yearly thing like Prime versus Prime does, where I give my thoughts and opinions on figures that I got, over the past year, because I am going to be ranking every legacy figure that we got in 2024, and these are the ones that specifically came out in 2024. I may or may not do a separate video ranking those as well as Studio Series figures that came out in 2023, but I got them in 2024 because distribution, as you guys know, still sucks. And I will admit, Legacy United, which is the final chapter in the Legacy line, gave us a good few bangers with a few questionable choices. And some of these bangers, like the Commander and Titan that you're seeing in this opening, are going to likely take the top spot. But with that said, I would like to say that I want to thank everyone who has supported me, watched, my live streams and my toy hunts, and while I haven't been able to do a lot of videos, which, I would like to say for those who haven't seen my TFCon Baltimore 2024 video, go check that out. I may or may not set a few rules that I'm going to break. If a figure, was retooled later in the year, that figure will go with the original version of the mold. And whether or not I'll break my rules, as some figures will be higher, some will be lower, it's really just a matter of personal preference. As for all the new mold figures are really going to be in the top spot, while the retools, redecos, or re-releases from previous years may be either higher or lower, depending on how I feel. But with that said, let's get down to my honorable mentions before we get to the actual list. Coming in at the final spot on my ranking video goes to Tasmania Kid and the two Core Class Rock figures. Now, admittedly, they were not going to be on this list because they were going to be honorable mentions until I decided some redecos and retools were going to be the honorable mentions instead. Now, you will see two characters using the same mold on this list and will be grouped in the same spot. And depending on whether they're higher or lower, depends on my personal preference and whether or not I enjoyed them, especially considering Legacy United gave us a good amount of bangers throughout 2024. So the reason why they are not honorable mentions is because I love Tasmania Kid because, another Beast Wars 2nd anime character brought into the main line, and it's funny that they went for this character instead of the English version of the character, who is Beast Wars Snarl. Though, to be fair, I don't think anyone would care depending on what name they chose, but I feel like it was a good thing they went with Tasmania Kid because no one's really clamoring for Beast Wars Snarl per se. And as for the Rock Lords that Hasbro and Takara introduced, well, I'm not going to go into detail, but admittedly, they and the other rock-based characters will be considerably lower on the list in comparison to the other characters introduced in Legacy. But with that being said, I like the transformation on Tasmania Kid, and same with the Rocks, though admittedly Tasmania Kid is a much better figure than the Rocks, and despite being a new mold, he did have to end up at the bottom because, cores don't really sell well like their Deluxes, Voyagers, Leaders, Commanders, and Titans, which you will all see as we proceed on the list. Coming in at the joint spot goes to the Rock Lords Magnius and Nucleus. Now, again, like I said with my previous entry, I don't really care for the Rock Lords like that. Now, this is the new mold, this is the retool, and admittedly, I could have done without them. I just got them to experience the mold, and again, truth be told, they would have been honorable mentions, but considering this is a ranking video of every Legacy United figure and character that came out in 2024, and, specifically 2024, nothing 2025 will be included on this list. That includes figures I I am getting in 2025 that did not come out in 2024 or were, but I was late to the party. So there's not much to say, simple transformation. I do like the weapons and the fact that they are continuing the weaponizer gimmick. But aside from that, there's not really much to write home about. Coming in at the 27th spot goes to Armada Galvatron. Now, as a figure, it's a really good figure, especially if you missed out on Armada Megatron from Legacy Evolution the previous year. But if you have that Megatron, then you know what to expect from Galvatron, as the Unicron trilogy did this thing where every recolored version of Megatron just became Galvatron. Now, again, as a figure, I really like this, but due to him being just a redeco with a new resculpted face with the teeth, that's really all he has going for him. And his combination with the Titan class figure of Legacy United, which is going to be in my top 5, if not top 2. But aside from that, and yes, I gave him Blast Effects and the Star Saber for this ranking, as that's what I'm gonna do for all of these, just to make them look more not Hasbro photography for the most part. But with that aside, good transformation, good details, pretty much everything what you expected, but not a really higher figure or higher priority unless you're either a completionist or you're someone who grew up on Transformers Armada in the early 2000s. Coming in at the joint 26th spot goes to the Legacy United vs. 4-pack, containing Squeeze Play, a prototype toy-colored Tarantulas, and Cyberverse Tarn, though admittedly it's just the Tarn we got done in his Cyberverse colors. And now this Tarn does come with the sword that came with Bludgeon in his colors. Now obviously the blast effects are not theirs, I just pulled them out to pose them. Same with Squeeze Play. Now, if you're wondering, where is Cliffjumper? Cliffjumper's not on this list yet because he is with his mold mate, who is a new mold that was released earlier before him. So Cliffjumper will be paired up with his mold mate that we will get to when we get to the top 15. But as it stands, for those who missed out on the original Tarn, this is a good second chance, even if you don't want the Cyberverse colors. Though if you want to make him Cyberverse accurate, you can just remove the left arm, because for those of you who have watched the end of Cyberverse, Tarn made an appearance and was missing his left arm. Now, Squeeze Play looks like a new figure, but he's actually a retool of a Titan's Turn figure. But they did a really good job of making him look like a new figure from the ground up. And the gun he comes with is based on Browning from Super God Master Force, in reference to the fact that Squeeze Play's Japanese counterpart is named Cancer. So depending on whether you go for Squeeze Play or Cancer is up to your personal preference. And the only thing new on Tarantulas is the head based on his robot face, whereas for those of you who are unfamiliar with Tarantulas' design, his design in the cartoon used the mutant face on the head, whereas this uses the robot mode face on the head. But with that said, this is a good set for those of you who want Cliffjumper, Squeeze Play, a second opportunity at Tarn, because no one's really buying this for the Tarantulas. And again, if not for the fact that Cliffjumper and his mold mate were higher up and arguably better retools, Cliff would have already been right here. Coming in at the 25th spot goes to Legacy United Road Pig, who is one of the Walmart exclusive Star Raiders, or as they were originally called, Star Seekers. Now, not all of the Star Seekers are going to be on this list, as evident by the fact that I did not get all of them in 2024, as I got the last few this year, 2025. But because I got him and the other, who's going to be higher up on the list, he gets a mention on the list anyways. And as a retool of the Junkion Crash Bar from Legacy Evolution, I think he's a good redeco / retool, since, the head is based on the original G2 laser cycle. And yes, I did pull off these blast effects like you're going to see throughout this video. Now, obviously I didn't do much to, differentiate him from Crash Bar, considering the configurations of this mold. But as he stands, if you want someone to counter your legacy G2 Road Rocket that we got from the Prime RC mold in 2022, this is your answer. Aside from that, I don't think he's a figure a lot of people are on their way to get, unless you're a diehard, fan of G2, or, you want another motorbike figure, because I like the transformation, which I should mention throughout this video, with transformations, because, simple or complex doesn't really matter, but again, personal preference on what you guys want for your collection. Coming in at spot number 24 goes to Cyberverse Chromia, who is arguably one of the least desired figures from Legacy United due to the fact that she's not a new mold based on her Cyberverse appearance, but rather just a simple new head redeco of animated Prowl from Legacy Evolution the previous year. Now, is she a bad figure? No. She just does not work as a Cyberverse version of Chromia. Now, the gun I gave to her came from the Red Cog figure from first year's Legacy, as this is based on the gun G1 Chromia comes with in the Siege toy line. And yes, again, with the blast effects. Now, I'm only doing this because I hate the shurikens. The shurikens are specifically meant for animated Prowl, so why they included them still on Chromia is beyond me, but I guess they just didn't feel like, adding in the budget to do a proper retool, which would have put her higher on this list, considering I like this figure better than the Siege Chromia, because Siege Chromia is not a very good figure. Again, do I hate this figure? No. But admittedly, she could have been so much better. Coming in at spot 23 goes to Sideburn, based on his appearance from 2001's Robots in Disguise. Now, I'm pretty sure when the Legacy Evolution Cyberverse Shadow Striker was first revealed, the writing was on the wall. Now, as an update to Sideburn, it's decent. Now, when it was used for Shadow Striker, it was a hybrid of her Cyberverse and Universe 2003 designs. Now, the Universe 2003 design was obviously a redeco / retool of Sideburn. Now, as an update, this Sideburn is, kind of lacking. And, obviously he fits the mold better than Shadow Striker. But, the issue is that they designed with Shadow Striker in mind. So, Sideburn is, not entirely accurate in vehicle mode, because despite, being mostly robot mode accurate, and I say mostly, he is missing the mark in a couple of areas. Paint, head sculpt, details are mostly there and on point. Despite all of this, now, the flame decals for the alt mode, and, due to how he transforms, is not like the original toy or, animation model seen in the Car Robots / Robots in Disguise anime. But again, if you need a Sideburn and you don't have the original, then I guess this is a good substitute, unless you feel like tracking down the original. Because again, as it stands, it's a decent update, but while Robots in Disguise fans, myself included, were clamoring for one, again, he is missing a bit of the mark. Taking the 22nd spot on this list goes to the Legacy United Leader Class G1 Soundwave. Now, does he warrant the Leader Class price point? No. But I will say this. This was a really good move on Hasbro's part for reissuing what is arguably one of the best Soundwave figures, the best G1 Soundwave we've gotten in the main line, because the original release of this figure came out in the Netflix Earthrise toy line back in 2020, where distribution was dog shit. And in addition to that, he came with Ravage and Laserbeak. This version comes with a Toy Colors Rumble, who I will be calling Frenzy, Ravage, and finally, Buzzsaw. I think Buzzsaw is the reason people are going to go after this Soundwave, especially since, Buzzsaw has finally gotten his due in Generations after being absent for years, and for people to get a second chance of getting this Soundwave, because this Earth Mode Soundwave that was released originally in Earthrise was, again, hard for people to obtain. Now, whether or not Studio Series 86, the other concurrently running Generations line, does a new Soundwave remains to be seen, and whether or not he'll be like Legacy / Studio Series 86 Blaster. Again, he's only a bit higher up than the other redecos and retools on the list because he comes with Buzzsaw and is a good second opportunity for fans and collectors to get their hands on a really good G1 Soundwave. Especially if, for those who didn't care for the Siege figure, they didn't want a Cybertronian mode Soundwave. And hopefully this figure will not yellow like the previous Earthrise release, because for those of you who own Earthrise Soundwave, he has begun to yellow in certain areas, like these, like the thighs and, other gray bits that aren't painted. So again, for those who missed out on the Earthrise Soundwave due to his exclusivity, and the fact that Hasbro's contract with Walmart was finally able to end to put him in the main line, again, this is a good opportunity, especially for those of you who, again, if you don't care about Buzzsaw, then I guess this is a skip. And if you already have, 86 Rumble and Frenzy, this is a skip. But in my opinion, I think he is worth getting. I got him at TFCon, and I also got him signed by his voice actor, Frank Welker. So this is a Soundwave figure that I am keeping on the shelf for years to come. Taking spot number 21 goes to Legacy United Voyager Ferak, who is a redeco and surprisingly a retool of Kingdom Cyclonus, who I regard as one of my favorite Voyagers from the War for Cybertron trilogy's Kingdom toy line, and one of the best Voyagers we got in Generations in recent years. Now, the redeco is the entire figure, but the retooling, surprisingly, is in the chest, the head, the wings, and the cockpit for the jet mode. And again, transformation, like I really should remind myself to keep saying in this video, really good, really fun transformation, articulation, same as Cyclonus, but it's a peak mold. That's all I can say. The figure is a peak mold, regardless of who it is, whether it's Cyclonus, the heavy retool that was Metalhawk, which, I feel like I should have given more praise in my ranking video of Legacy Evolution the previous year. But with that said, if you want someone that is not Cyclonus and, you just like a good Voyager, then I think Ferak is a good way to go. We have now reached the top 20 of my ranking of every Legacy United figure that had been released in 2024. Or at least the ones I was able to acquire that were released in 2024. Taking the 20th spot goes to the 2-pack of the Deluxe Insecticons, Barrage, and Chop Shop. Now, the Wrecker Hammer figure that came with them, the Battlemaster, I kind of put away, so I forgot to bring that out for this portion of the video, but my point will still stand. As retools of both Bombshell and Shrapnel, they're really good. Chop Shop somehow is better than Shrapnel due to the fact that his head isn't like Shrapnel's and can actually turn without it feeling tight or me frustrating over it. Now, Barrage is a clever reuse of Bombshell in the sense that the back is the front, in the sense that what was the front of Bombshell is now the back. So Barrage's front is Bombshell's back. Now, again, simple transformations, and it's a good thing that Barrage finally gets some representation because he has been absent from Transformers toy lines and media for a good long while, whereas Chop Shop, his previous toy was a retool of Titan's Return Shrapnel. I think it was Titan's Return because it was during the Prime Wars trilogy where Chop Shop got a new figure. So us getting a new Ransack in Legacy in the Creatures Collide 4-pack with a Goldbug and 2 Predacons, which leaves us with Venom, and Venom is going to be a tricky one considering that is the name of a Marvel character. So whether or not they'll rename him like they did before will remain to be seen, but as it stands, these are 2 really good retools that made it, despite being low on the list, into my top 20. Coming in at spot number 19 goes to Shard. Now, I did state before I wasn't a big fan of the Rocklord figures. However, Shard kind of exceeded my expectations. Not only is this a female character, but she's also a helicopter former. And not to mention, is the most appealing of the Rocklord figures we got because her mold hasn't been reused for another rock character as the other rocks were reused from the previous mold, from their mold mate, I should say. Again, simple figure, simple transformation. Yes, following the armorizer gimmick that the Rocklords are following since the weaponizers, modulators, and fossilizers of the War of Cybertron trilogy and the Legacy Junkions. But she's a decent deluxe and not one I would recommend unless, her color scheme or design is appealing to you as she was to me. Taking his way in spot number 18 goes to the Legacy United Doom and Destruction Collection Needlenose as part of a 2-pack with Prime Breakdown. Now, why is Breakdown not on this list? The same reason why Bludgeon that came with Ruckus, who will be on this list, is on this list. I hated the Breakdown, and I did not care for the Bludgeon. So, for any of you who subscribe to my channel and watch my live streams, let's just say Breakdown and Bludgeon will not be seen at any point on my channel, regardless of whether I do video reviews and if I ever get my ass up and do them again. But with that said, Windsweeper, along with Ruckus, who will be higher up on the list, I'm actually glad I own because I never got Needlenose, and Windsweeper, as you guys couldn't tell, is a redeco with a retooled head of Needlenose. And again, as someone who missed out on Needlenose, I was quite pleasantly surprised. And yes, while his guns are the Target Masters that came with Needlenose, they are on the arms to replicate his original TriggerCon gimmick, because for those of you who are unaware, Hasbro gave us updated figures of the G1 TriggerCons, which consisted of Windsweeper, Ruckus, and Crankcase. Crankcase we got in the main line as a heavy retool of Legacy Skids in Wave 3 of the first year of Legacy, whereas Windsweeper and Ruckus, we didn't get them until this Amazon exclusive toy line focused on the Mayhem Attack Squad from the various G1 based comics, whether it be the Marvel Comics, BotCon, Fun Publication, IDW, including the recent IDW 2019 universe. But with that aside, again, for those of you who missed out on Needlenose, I think Windsweeper, if you get rid of the Breakdown, is a really good figure, and one that I think is necessary if you are after all 3 of the TriggerCons. And being a Needlenose retool, he is really well articulated for Deluxe, as evident by the pose I'm putting him in, and, the obvious blast effects I had to include. But with that said, him and Ruckus are definitely worthy. Now, Ruckus, who was higher up on the list, definitely surprised me. Slamming in at the number 17 spot goes to Quake and his Target Master partners Tip Top and Heater. Now, for those of you who cannot tell, he is a extensive retool of Legacy United, not Legacy United, Legacy Skullgrin from 2022. Now, Skullgrin admittedly was kind of a mid-figure, and I say kind of, because I will admit he was decent, but he didn't live up to expectations, especially for being an update to the original Pretender, Decepticon. Now, Quake, on the other hand, being a extensive retool, surprised me, because not only does he include his Target Masters, but the amount of retooling that Hasbro did to him makes it look like he's a new mold. Head, chest, legs, the arms are the same from Skullgrin, but, transformation is the same as Skullgrin, but kind of different due to the retooled elements and new tank part. But again, as a retool that surprised me, he was definitely worth being on my top 20, not just for Legacy figures, but he may be in my top 20 of favorite 2024 Generations figures and Transformers figures as a whole. I love this figure. I never owned the original toy, nor did I own the Titans Return retool of Hardhead, and admittedly, I did not like that, so I was hoping Legacy would do something better. And, to my surprise, they did. Crossing through the multiverse portal into spot number 16 is Vector Prime, based on his appearance from Transformers Cybertron. And now, this figure was a bit underwhelming for many people. Not me, because I never owned the original Voyager Vector Prime, and the only advantage this figure has over that one is articulated hands, mainly due to the fact that he is a heavy retool of G-Axis. Unfortunately, he reuses the legs from G-Axis. Now, being a retool of that character and figure, he is quite dynamic, as evident by the pose I had put him in. He comes with his sword and Cyberplanet key that is specific to him. Unfortunately, he does not come with his Minicon Safeguard, which is a bit of a letdown. And due to how this figure was received, an upgrade kit is likely to follow to give him a better sword and, better parts. But as he stands by himself, he's quite a good figure, despite being a heavy retool of a figure that I actually consider to be peak and one of the best figures of Legacy thus far. Because I really like G-Axis, so I do like Vector Prime. I like the transformation. I again appreciate the fact that Hasbro remembered to give him a cyber key, which is something that was missing with the previous Cybertron characters released in Legacy, that being the Titan class Metroplex and the Velocitron exclusive Voyager Override. Both of them didn't come with their minicons, and not minicons. Well, in the case of Metroplex, he didn't come with his minicon or cyber key, and Override didn't come with hers. So, United, the final chapter in Legacy, as of this point, remembered to give him and the other two characters from Transformers Cybertron that got a new figure in this line that are higher up because they are new molds and not retools. They all come with their cyber keys, and you will all see that when we get to them in a minute. But as Vector Prime stands, whether or not they'll redo him in a few years' time, give him a new mold with, the articulated hands, we will have to wait and see. Because only time, no pun intended, will tell.